Yeah, baby. Yeah. The Mac is back with another video. Hello, the initiated. My name is Marcus Junikala, and today is a big day because Strezov Sampling decided to release some new stuff. And if you know anything about me, I love myself some Strezov stuff. They are definitely one of my favorite developers, especially in that kind of organic, orchestral, and also, well, they've been expanding to these kind of ethnic areas as well. In that category, definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite developer in that bracket. So they came out with something that's called PRIMAL Ethnic Orchestra. What is this thing? Let's go to the website to learn a bit more. So, description. Designed for composers chasing the gritty organic sounds of medieval worlds, Nordic themes, and all kinds of dark fantasy worlds. All kinds. From unsettling low drones to primal percussive strikes, this library captures the raw, the imperfect, the handmade, and the unmistakably human. So these are a lot of words that I like. Medieval stuff, ka-ching. Nordic themes, ka-ching, ka-ching. Dark fantasy worlds, ka-ching. It's all just ka-ching up in this one. So it is a theme-based library. Thematic library, I guess, is the word. So it's not just going to be one specific thing and one specific instrument or even one specific set of instruments. Well, I guess depends on how you define sets, but has a theme, and under that theme, there's a bunch of instruments going to be in here for a bunch of different styles and I can't say genres. That's not the right thing, but styles of music, I guess. But I am happy that it still has this central theme to it, and it's quite easy to grasp it. I think the branding, everything here is quite good, communicates quite directly what this thing is going to be, and I feel like reading this description here delivers on the look of it, the way it looks. But let's start with the pricing, since it is here. Full price, 349 euros. So definitely we're in that kind of boutique world for sure. Not at the very high top end of it, but not at the, I guess this would be sort of by my definition, kind of a bit slightly beyond the boutique pricing world, I would say. That again, that's not commenting on quality of the of any library, but rather kind of the pricing brackets and ranges that I've experienced. So not a free library and not a perhaps ball-busting price, depending on who and what you are. But the thing I must mention again is that Strezov libraries most certainly tend to deliver on the depth front. They can have a bit more price, but they have a lot more depth. So while it might sting at first, usually, at least with libraries like the Afflatus series and many of the other ones, it can sting, but you get just so much content that's actually usable and diverse in a usable way, because a lot of libraries can have a lot of stuff in there and then you just don't end up using a lot of it. Not the case with Strezov. They are genuinely very vast libraries, but actually usable, and you get a lot for what you pay. We'll see if that's the case with Primal, but I would suspect that it probably is. Intro pricing, 249 euros. So that's a pretty hefty percentage. VAT excluded, so if you do have to pay VAT, that will come on top of there. I think I received an email in my inbox where If you qualify, I don't exactly know what the qualifying products are. Maybe it's listed here on the website somewhere. But if you do qualify, then I think on top of this 249 euros, you get an additional discount from that. I believe so. So check your email, go test the code and see what you get for it. And if you didn't get a code and you think you should, send Strezov Sampling a message. We have some audio demos, which we're not going to listen to for copyright and spoiler reasons. We don't want to spoil too much for ourselves. As usual, I'm going in here pretty blind because I want to give you my authentic, full take on this without being colored by anyone's opinion or any sort of other content. Of course, if we bump into any road bumps, I will reference the manual as we move along, if necessary. There's a video here of a walkthrough. I'm sure this is super solid, so go check it out. I'm sure it does things that this video won't. And then there's also a MIDI playthrough demo track as well. So the intro pricing of the 249 euros is going to end January 2, I'm stumbling with numbers here. January 9th, 2026. So you can wait until next year. That's a really horrible joke. But you have about 3 weeks from today, as I'm filming this, to think about it. And I think that's a pretty good period. I think usually intro pricings can be they can be shorter. So I think you have relatively ample time to ponder and wonder about this. Here it is. Additional cross-grade discount from the other ethnic orchestra products available. Please check your emails or write us. Cool. So you need an ethnic orchestra product in there. Download via native access. That's nice. I downloaded through the website because I was kind of under the impression that I had to, and then go into native access. But it seems like you can just do it from there, which seems less painful. Powered by Native Instruments Contact Player, version 7 or higher. So 7.00 or higher. So that's nice. You don't necessarily need 8 to go with this. Raw organic power. Primal Ethnic Orchestra delivers never-before sampled instruments, custom-designed acoustic instruments, and creative ensembles, all tailored towards a gritty, Nordic, medieval sound. Cool. From unsettling low drones to primal... Okay, so that one we already read. Cool. So interesting, they said custom-designed acoustic instruments. So I wonder if they cobbled together some stuff of their own. Seems like it. Down-tuned scordatura, string sections, and solos. A no-compromise approach towards one of the most aggressive but still highly applicable playing methods for orchestral strings. We recorded all sections with multiple articulations, round robins, and dynamics. After that, we went back and did the same thing again for the first chairs. This allows you to scale the amount of grittiness you want to have, either in a full section or in a detailed soloist. Okay. Okay, good, interesting. Just trying to keep up here. Bass, tal harpa, and custom acoustic instruments. Tal harpas have been sampled. I know how to pronounce it because I'm super fluent in Swedish. And Norway, Sweden, Denmark, it's basically the same language. How many people did I piss off with that? Not the same, but pretty close. Pretty darn close, okay? Tal harpas have been sampled before. That's my Swedish take on the word, because that's how they speak. So we wanted to go beyond that and asked our collaborator, Bastian Kieslinger. I don't know why I say it like Swedish, because he's probably German. Sounds German. Bastian Kieslinger. There we go. To record his mighty Troll Harpa for us. I mean, I don't know if it's German. Hey, Bastian, tell me, where are you from? I don't know why I said it like that, but anyway, special attention was given to this instrument since it really captures the feeling of the entire collection. Furthermore, our collaborator, John Valasis, these are epic surnames, recorded many of his own custom acoustic instruments for us, like the Shell, Rusty Saw, Aeolian Fan Harp. I don't know why I turned into Batman. Arrow Monochord and Bell Guitar. The result is a true treasure chest of virtual instruments which are able to make any soundtrack stand out immediately. Yeah, I think this hits a good spot, and I think this is a smart thing to do this in a thematic way, because there is a lot of overlap, and you can use these kind of sounds for many types of things. You don't have to go for like a full-blown medieval or Nordic soundtrack, but you can sort of hybridize these type of sounds with a lot of other sounds to create that bit of grit. Like I've talked about this many times before, that these sort of instruments really can, let's say if you have an orchestra, for example, you can throw in something like this and just give it a bit of that, like that raspy, organic, raw edge. So I fully appreciate this approach, and I think it hits a really good spot. And also, like I said, doing this thematically just gives you like a good toolkit to, you know, attack a soundtrack with. We got some pictures here. What's wrong with my pronunciation today? It's not enough sleep, I guess. Let's have some water. Maybe I was just thirsty. Good. This guy looks very happy. He's happy to be there. Playable melodic and strummed rhythms. Since many of the included instruments would not get justice by sampling them the traditional way, we applied the techniques from String Contours 1 and 2, which allow you to play and perform our recorded melodic rhythms on these unique instruments, unlike any other virtual instrument collection out there. Okay, so they don't go into the specifics of how. I guess that's a trade secret. Maybe like performance-based sampling. Expressive primal woodwinds and sparks. Bass, block flute, Kaval, and Didgeridoo were deeply sampled with different vibrato amounts, up to 5 short articulations. Excuse me, I'm about to vomit here. Focusing on repeating note phrases and instrument-specific performances like bends for the Kaval or wobble for the Didgeridoo. Nice. Primal would not belong into the ethnic orchestra line if it didn't include the beloved Sparks section again. Yeah. So far, I absolutely love the Sparks. I think they are fantastic sounding. The quality is brilliant. They are very creative, beautiful soundscapes, beautiful sounds. My only criticism so far has been that I would love to have more modularity within them. I would love to have more control over each individual elements, because it seems like they bake a lot of sounds into single layers. There are layers. There are basically different channels or layers, if you will. But within each layer, there are baked in elements, and you can't get rid of them unless you do some extraordinary work with them. But so interesting to see whether my enduring feedback has been answered, because I think the Sparks are so good. If they could make it so that you can have access to the individual elements, it would just be, I would buy that library on its own. They are that good. I would just do it, in a heartbeat. So I really hope they do that. And like I said, I wish they did a library based just on that principle. I think it would be absolutely amazing. 25 custom tailored pads with controllable elements, which can do wonders for underscore or as cue starters. Yep, agreed. Earth-shaking percussion, shouts, stomps, and vocal performances. Fully produced rhythms and multi-sampled percussion get instant results put together in our Extreme. That's how it's pronounced. X3M, but Extreme is apparently how it's done. Engine, which is great. I think pretty much hands down I've loved every Strezov percussive thing that I've tried. So, really good. And I especially like the more, the deeper ones, because, again, like with, what did we check out last time? I think it was Pacha. I think the percussives were one-shots. Not completely sure. I'm sorry if I get this wrong, but I mean, despite being one-shots, they held up really, really good. And in many cases, you don't even yearn for more depth, which is really impressive. And I don't say stuff like that very often, if ever. The rhythms loops are recorded in two dynamic layers and split into high, mid, and low elements for maximum flexibility. Okay, so 2 dynamic layers. I think for loops, that is actually really good, because most of the time loops just come in one dynamic, really. So that's actually very interesting. Interesting to see how that works. Single instruments follow the layout of our recent Extreme products, which allow you to program complex rhythms in no time. In line with the name of this ethnic orchestra, we also added stomping, shouts, and vocal rhythms to transport you back to the Stone Age. But what if I don't want to go back? I work so hard to escape. Okay, look at this guy. Oh, he's angry. What's happening here? That looks like a super... What the heck is that? It's like some kind of a woodwind thing. Very interesting. Cool. Look at that. That's a big drum. That's a big drum right there. Good. So, we're not going to read all of these, but they summarize raw organic power, playable performances, multiple libraries in a single product, again, which we touched on. Loving this. And again, it's like, I don't automatically love this approach. I think it takes a great company to do that and pull it off, and there's frankly no other company I'd rather see take this approach than Strezov, because they've proved that they can do it and they do it well. So, cool. Tech specs, and then there's a list of everything that's included, like all the instruments and articulations. Is this in the wrong place? Maybe they treat this like tech specs, but to me these are like included instruments and articulations, because I don't know. But string ensembles, got violins, and these are, looks like all of these are done in sustain / legato, mercato, staccato, staccatissimo, pizzicato, drone loops, 1 string or 2 strings. Cool. And that's in violins, violas, cello, bass. Good. String solos, again, solo violin, violas, cello cheap. There's a cheap cello. Let's get this drink out of there. Don't take my spotlight, drink. Solo bass. Cool. All right. This is a really interesting approach, actually, because Strezov tends to do this. They like with is it Arabian Ethnic Orchestra? Or yeah, I think so. Yeah. well, we're not going to check it now. But yeah, I mean, that has its own string section or string sound altogether, which is like, is super impressive they do that, because, and that's understandable because that sound has its like, that type strings done in that sort of a style have their very own distinct sound. So it's understandable, but it's also like very, very impressive they include it, because it's a lot of work. So same thing here. Ethnic melodic loops, you got the Harpa, PRIMAL Kithara, octaves and single notes, and then you have Tamboura. Ethnic Harpa, bass flute, Kaval, Didgeridoo, Angklungs. Nice. Brass stabs. Okay. Then we have the custom stuff, bell guitar, arrow, monochord, Aeolian Fan Harp, rusty saw, the shell, percussion sound. Okay, cool. Yeah. Our community shares. We got statements from Nikolai Stroinsky, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, Age of Empires. I'm not going to listen to what Nikolai says, so he won't manipulate me into saying things for this demo. Look at that psychic energy I have to resist the word of Nikolai. How can you resist this man? Okay, frequently asked questions. Go read those. And that's it. That's the website. So, this leaves us with no choice but to go into the DAW ourselves, into the dangerous world of the music. So, let's start with the interface, since it's here. This thing is looking really, really good. Very striking color, but it's still, everything's easy to follow. This layout follows the very same style as some of the previous latest releases, like Arabian Ethnic Orchestra, and pretty much all of the latest releases. But on the left, you got your mic controls for close, a deca, and hall. You can turn them on and off. You have volume control, pan control, width control for those. On the right, you have these 4 tabs. So let me actually go ahead, and there we go. So I opened the helper so we can see actually what things are, in case we can't tell. But this, you have these 4 pages up here. The one with the note is the main page, apparently. Then you have the options page, key switch page, and then scales page. Cool. So, main page, you control the legato. So you can go for sustain, mono legato, or poly legato. You can control the mono speed and the poly speed separately here. So important to keep an eye on that when you're making your changes. Release samples on and off. Release off. Adjust the start offset. Okay, cool. And then you have your ADSR control here as well. Control for reverb on and off, and volume, the amount of reverb. So pretty simple. The main thing is to keep an eye on which mode you want to be using, whether it's sustain or mono legato or poly, and then go with the speed adjustments. Those make a big difference to the sound, so you got to play with those. Options, niente, sustained notes. Then we have some MIDI stuff there. Round robins for different articulations. Key switching page if you want to change those. And then scales as well. Again, these are really, really great if you want to go for... if you want to basically set scale limitations for you, then you can do it here. Or you can go in here and get inspired by these different scales, because maybe you don't know how some of them go, or you want to go for a very specific style, you can do it here. So I actually think these are an amazing learning tool, primarily for me, because yeah, you might not know all of those because there are a lot to check out. Cool. Also in the middle between these two different zones, we have these different selector boxes here. On the left, you can choose whether it's a 1-string or a 2-string sound, and then you can choose your okay, so quarter note, triplet, half note, half tempo, normal tempo, double tempo. Okay, these are an interesting layout because on the bottom you have the tempo control. On the top two left you have 1- and 2-string control, and then you have the note controls here. But they do kind of face a dilemma because you've got 4 of these, and then 3 of these and 2 of these. So yeah, but cool. Easy enough. But all in all, interface looking good, very clear, quite striking, nice to look at. So this is in a good shape. As this is loading into RAM, we also might as well touch on the size of this library because it actually wasn't stated on the website, I don't think. Maybe I just missed a page there. But I think this is, once you get it on the disk, it's about 75, 77 gigs. So pretty sizable, like a pretty big boy. And also when you, for example, we loaded the Ensemble Violins here, this loads into memory as 1.84 gigs. So pretty big boys in that way as well. This is pretty typical for Strezov, but just something you should know in case that means anything to you. So with the way things are set up and numbered here in the Contact 8 browser, things go from 01 to 07. So I'm sure there's some kind of a idea here, but I think we are in a typical fashion gonna start with the ensemble strings first, and then probably do percussion after that, and then do all the other stuff. I think that's how we're gonna attack this. In terms of the other basic stuff, the agenda for today is just to play as much of Primal to you as possible so you can hear how it sounds and whether it is for you or not. And we'll be doing that through playing these different instruments and these different presets. And I think we should be able to go through everything today. Obviously, I can't play everything for a ton of time, nor does anyone want that either, nor can I play every articulation and every tweak, but I'll try and explore as much as I possibly can to give you the best idea of what this thing sounds like. What you'll hear today is only Primal in action. I don't add any effects on top of anything of my own whatsoever. No EQ, no reverb, no compression, no nothing. I only have a limiter on my master bus to make the level a bit more consistent for this video. But that being said, it's set to be as transparent as possible. So you should hear minimal, if any, coloration at all for this video. And I actually mainly use it to monitor and control the output gain, or the final gain, I should say, for this video. Of course, when we are looking at some percussive things, there are going to be some transient spikes, which are going to be a bit tamed. But like I said, I'm going to keep an eye on it, or an ear, and make sure that we hear very little, if any, coloration on those either. In terms of transparency, Strezov Sampling did send me this copy, so thank you to them for doing so. Also, this video is done in collaboration with Strezov Sampling, in the sense that I am being compensated for my time that it takes to check out this library. But that being said, as always, all opinions are my own, both in good and bad. I haven't been asked to to say anything one way or the other, nor would I ever do that. As mentioned before, this is a very, very blind demo. I've only heard very short individual snippets of some sounds here and there through the marketing materials, but it's been extremely minimal, so I will be experiencing this for myself and you'll get my authentic first responses to this. So let's start with the ensemble strings. First up, we have the violins here. If you look down in the red zone here, you can see these 5 different keys, and these are used to select the articulation. So again, you got sustain plus legato, you got marcato, staccato, staccatissimo, and pizzicato. So use those to choose your articulation. Here in the green-yellow zone, let's actually do some playing here. All right, so this seems to be like a patternized rhythm, tagel harpa style rhythmic, I don't know, strumming is not the right word, but basically follows those sort of rhythmic patterns. Interesting. It's like the tempo is, it's like dropping on that one. So if I play 2 notes at the same time, yeah, they do sync up there. So half tempo. So this is a good way, of course, to, you know, choose the right you know, strumming tempo for you. Two strings. Cool. Important to remember that these are the violins, which is kind of interesting too, because usually you would do the kind of those kind of patterns with maybe something a bit lower. You can, I mean, it depends on how you layer it, but it's kind of common to have like a lower range here and then have something higher up. I think the most common setup here is to have like a for libraries is to have like a low strumming range and then a higher one. But here, as you can hear, this is like a sustained plus legato style thing. Let me pull down the level just a bit. Let me go to mono legato here. I want to hear, let me make this. So again, I don't know if speed 100 means fast or slow. Okay, so higher is faster. Cool. Let me play with that mono legato a bit. So here you can hear that they haven't really sampled like a super gentle quiet, velocity there for it. It kind of stays quite vigilant. Obviously, it gets quieter, but the tone of it remains quite focused. So that's still, obviously, it doesn't have that top raspy grit and bite, which is really nice, but it kind of stays quite present there. Cool. Now let's try the sustains. So yeah, these are, I would sort of say that these are really good for stuff that kind of stays in tension, stays in motion, because you can't go super, super quiet and delicate with that. But it is a really, really nice sound for anything, going from like medium to intense, I would say. Let me change some of these. Okay, quarter note triplet. So yeah, typically I generally prefer the one string sound because it sounds sort of more focused. There's less of that kind of phasing happening, because if you have more strings, there's going to be some kind of a phase relationship between those incoming sounds. But obviously it has, two strings has like a more higher intensity thing. So it's really about what the part needs. Let me try these micings very quickly for you. We're not going to look at micings probably unless there's a specific like, ooh, I want to hear what that sounds like later on. So I might as well do it now. So here's the close mic. Here's the Decca. Sorry, let me go into monolegato here. Sounds a bit better. Yeah, this is of course very quiet because it's a more distant mic setup. That's pretty nice. So what I'm thinking here already is, do I have individual level controls for these zones? So I got the mic positioning, because that doesn't cut it, because it's not, because we basically have two different things happening here. We have this rhythm portion, and then we have the articulation portion where oh, sorry, that's my bad. That's a lot louder than everything else here happening. So what I'm thinking is I want to have control between the levels here, because I find, let's actually, before we go into that, let's go into the whole mic. I'm liking this a lot. I think that that hall sort of reveals a greater amount of like raw organicness there. Let me pull back the level here a bit. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite sound out of these mic positions here. I feel like this is where the organic nature of it really sings a lot better. Let me go to the close mic again. So I feel like this might be like a bit too close and a bit too kind of like you don't get the singingness of the instrument maybe as much here. Let me try again. Also, I want to note that the low end here, the tone of the instrument there, I find that works at its best there. Once you start pushing it, maybe some of the transitions don't quite sound as like smooth and realistic there. But it's a tricky thing because the sound that they're going for, and we have to remember this is like not an actual like tagel harpa. So we have to remember that because that's actually super impressive that it can sound this good. I'm actually starting to think like, is that even possible? I mean, it must be. It's really impressively done. But let's try the close mic once again. Gonna increase the level here. It is really good. Let me go back to the full mix here. Yeah, that's interesting. To me, this balance kind of, okay, so the hall is a bit accentuated here, so let me pull it back. It sounds like it's sort of making it a bit thinner and weaker. Let's try again now that I fixed the mics. Yeah, it's sort of like, I think it works better. Let's go with close again. Yeah, it sort of gains more focus there. I did love the hall. Let's do the Decca again. That's a really wide in the back sound. I'm kind of wondering if that sort of maybe makes it a bit too dissipated. Let me amp up the level again. running out of space here with my hands. Yeah, I think these might be sort of, maybe to my taste, a bit underrepresented, these other mic positions. Let me try the Decca again. This is a lot louder now. Yeah, not that loud. Yeah, I mean, I think this is what, like, mix balances make a big difference here for me, because it does impact how the sound obviously arrives at you, the phase relationship, and kind of like how thick you perceive it to be. I would probably do it in a way where I would find the best mic position for my track that I'm working with, because the Decca and the whole have a nice. Again, it's like the instrument it sings a bit better there. The close mic is great. It's really about how you bring these balances together. The out of the box balance there just makes it a bit thinner and weaker to me, and kind of doesn't accentuate the things that I really, really like about that sound. So I definitely play a lot more with that. I also like how, especially this octave here for the violins, get a bit like, it's a bit pitchy, which is a part of that sound. And I like that it's right there. It's like, it kind of tickles your something in your brain, making it like, is that is it too out of tune or not? But it isn't. But you're like, it feels, it's a really, actually really, really like that, because it's very much a part of this sound here for sure. We'll just do a quick, so basically you have your mercados as well. And again, these are separate from the rhythm section here, which seems to always do what the the tempo control and the note controls are doing. But so these articulations seem to affect only the blue zone here, which is the kind of the legato sustained side here. Well, they're not necessarily doing a legato because these are different articulations, but hopefully you get the point. So, marcato. Then you have your staccato here. So what I really like is how this has a raspy edge. It's like a beautiful kind of razory type of a thing. Very, very nice. Staccatissimo. Those are actually really nice. I wasn't expecting them, because these, again, lean a bit harder into the typical string ensemble sound. But you can hear that they're sort of done with, again, that razory, sharper edge. Really nice. I really like those. Then you have pizzicato. I don't know what it is with Strezov and pizzicatos, but they nail it every single time. They sound so good, and they're so different in each library. Like, you get like a really, really, really super solid and wide and beautifully musical pizzicato selection. If you have these different ethnic orchestra libraries or ethnic libraries, again, because this goes for beautiful imaging, kind of rounds, curves to the back over there. But yeah, these are so good, and they have different, legitimate, like different colors in each of these libraries. And this is like a raw or spittier one, which is super, super nice. And it was I love the pizzicatos in the Arabian ethnic orchestra as well. Very, very good. Cool. I think we better move on. Let's jump into the Ensemble Violas. So we'll do the same thing here. Okay. So this is kind of flipped, the layout. So right off the bat, I'm thinking like there has to be a logical explanation for this. I'm trying to like think about understanding the instrument and why it's laid out like this. But I can't think of it. I'm thinking like maybe it has something to do if you load multiple instances, then it kind of sets it somehow nicely. I'm not sure. So I've set the mono speed in the mono legato to be the slowest. It is definitely, I would say, noticeably slower than in the viola. So it's a bit like, you gotta wait for it to get going. Again, nice growl and noises on the edge of it. Let me play this rhythm section. It's a really nice sound. I think this, again, kind of suits my general taste for this type of stuff a bit better, because again, if you go with this sound to the higher ranges, you will have more kind of like that stingy tone. So I think lower strings typically give the best parts of this type of a sound. But of course, you need the full range for when you want to go for it. And of course, you would build to it, and you would use it kind of strategically at certain points in time. This is kind of like, it's not a criticism towards the library, of course. It's more like a general commentary in terms of this sound, from, you know, for my taste. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, let's add a bit of level here. Not that much though. Yeah, very cool. Me like this a lot. It's really cool. Yeah, I really like that these get super speedy. And this is, again, where the overlapping power of a library like this comes into play, because you can use that for so many different things, not just any like primal style, like they said, like Nordic, medieval, any kind of place where you want your strings to get a bit like speedy and raw and more aggressive. You can use that to achieve it. Cool. Let me do the pizzicatos again. I think this layout thing kind of mushed my brain even more so than usual, because I was like, I'm not used to playing melody lines with my left, and now I'm like, how do they work? I don't understand how this works. Yeah, that's really, really good. Amazing. Let's go to the Ensemble Cellos. Again, here the layout is flipped, like with the violas. Oh, we weren't completely loaded in yet. Let's get that RAM eaten up. How much? Memory, 1.96 gigs. Yeah, so what I'm definitely yearning for here is the volume differences. I'm trying to... Okay, so it's not in scales, not in key switches, not in options. I don't see a way to control the relative levels between these zones. as far as I can tell, this is not a possibility. Which means I would have to load up 2 instances of this to get the level balances that I want to have between the legato stuff, for example, the melody stuff versus the rhythm. So yeah, I'm really trying to see if that is possible here, but I can't see a way to do that. To me, it seems like a very obvious thing that I would love to have control over, because here, for example, I feel like the melody is kind of drowning in relation to the rhythm here. So control over that would most definitely be desirable. I mean, listen to that. It's just so juicy, so fluffy. That clips a bit. It is very dynamic, so you kind of have to keep an eye on that. Very cool. Yeah, these pizzicatos are insanely good. Good. And then lastly, let's go into do we have ensemble basses? So yeah, it's really cool to have these as well, because a lot of developers would drop the basses, unfortunately, in many cases. Of course, there's a time and place for it, probably, or a reason for that. But really happy to see basses be included as well. So interested to actually hear what the low end sounds like on the rhythm side over here. Yeah, this is really cool stuff. So I'm guessing with this sort of playing style, because when I listen to this, there's definitely like some harmonics or something forming that's giving you a sensation of like there's another, like there's some harmonic, some sort of a note in there in relation to this, into the fundamental note. Which gives it a very cool vibe, because it kind of sounds like something else is also there and something is coming. It sounds like there's already like more happening musically there, even though they're just playing, performing one note here. Yeah, there are multiple things happening there. There's a bit of like, like it sounds like there's a slight like semitone, like perception shift on some of the notes very briefly, and then you have this like relationship, I'm guessing, to the space where the sound is going there and reflecting and then coming back, and then that gives you like an impression like there's like a. I'm trying to hear what it is. Because it's kind of like an octave perception. Sometimes it's like a fifth, just a very, very slight. And then you have that semitone shift there at the one point. And also the fluctuation between the timing isn't like super, super strict. It is like you can hear slightly shifting, which further throws you kind of off in a good way. These are very, very interesting. That's obviously a big, big, like brutish sound. Okay, that 2-string sound there is really cool. Yeah, I kind of forgot about the 2-string settings because I came from that violin mindset, thinking it's a tagel harpa, and then I'm like, yeah, let's focus on this. But this is actually really like expands the utility of this string section tremendously. We might jump back to the cello to actually hear the difference there, but this is a really, really great tool to have this two-string option there as well. Yeah, these are really good. I'm really happy they did basses because this is exactly the kind of stuff you want for basses, that you need from basses. Really, really great sound. And this just like kind of doubles the scope of this, what it can sound like. Let me do some of this playable side. That's impressive. To maintain that level of like clarity, but also weight, really difficult. So I'm super happy about this because like good basses are really, really difficult, really rare. And this is really, really stunning stuff. Let's do the staccato. Just to have that clarity, that weight, that bottom, and then also all of these beautiful noises at the top, to have that's priceless. can't do stuff like that for this sound. I just wanted to test how it behaves. Fantastic. Yeah, the staccatissimo, again, this has a beautiful, beautiful sound. Beautiful sound. You can get those like really nice big hits with that. That's absolutely fantastic. Some of the, when I'm playing, some of the note like input timing doesn't exactly line up, which explains my poor playing. Not my fault. It's Strezov sampling's fault. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I'm a bit shoddy. I should probably go eat something, have a break in between here, get my blood sugar levels right. That's what it is. It can't be skill based, but beautiful sound regardless of my shoddy playing. You can get those like big string hits in there, and then still have this kind of more contemplative, pondering higher end here. These basses are insanely good. Let's go just jump back quickly to the ensemble cellos. I want to quickly test the 2-string option here as well. Cool. So at this point, I think we have to check out the solo strings, because looping back to that doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. So solo violin, let's let this load up first and go from there. Everything looks to be the same: sustain, legato, marcato, staccato, staccatissimo, pizzicato, and then we have the rhythm part here in the green yellow, and then the blue playable here. I'm going to probably focus on, well, actually we have to do a bit of both to get an idea of what this thing sounds like. That sounds very promising. Let's play a bit. So let's ramp up the speed. I think the mono speed is still working better here. Yeah, it still works better for my ears when the speed is set to be lower, even for the faster passages. So I think the sound, it's definitely at its best when it's paired with the rhythm section. Then it kind of melds together nicely. This style of playing can get sort of, what's the word? It can get a bit like nasally and piercing on its own, especially here when we don't go from, again, to like super, super quiet. It just kind of chills the raw edge of it. I would definitely use this in that sort of toggle harpa way when you're trying to, you know, pair it with like a rhythmic pattern. Again, the lower ranges of this work best for me. And again, this is again something I would just do from a writing, arrangement, compositional perspective to keep the sound the way I want it to, because it does get quite piercing when you go higher up. So yeah, there's that. Let me do some of these other articulations. Because yeah, and with this playing style, like you really got to be careful with the parts because it can begin to sound a bit synthetic. Because it just has that kind of a tone. So you kind of have to put it in the right musical context to avoid that. Yeah, I can't get over how good these pizzicatos are. Again, that has like a really interesting, like smooth but poppy end in the transients, or like the early bit part of that. Very cool, very nice. Let's go into solo viola. Yeah, that has a really, really nice tone to it. Still loading. Okay, now it's loaded. Let me go into mono legato. I must have missed that one legato note. So, but yeah, you see what I kind of am saying with the sound of the the strings, going for that kind of tagel harpa-ish sound. So it's like definitely gets better and better the lower you go. I'm not making any jokes about that. That's all in your head. I would never, do anything like that. But yeah, it just kind of like, you get less of that like top end piercingness, nasaliness, and stuff like that. The violas really sit in that perfect area for the topper end of the sound that I would go for. The viola pizzicato top dynamic definitely goes hard. Definitely snappier and pluckier than the other ones so far. So something to keep in mind. Solo cello. Let's let this load up. Meanwhile, go into mono legato. Let me try 2-string. Yeah, very cool. See how the sound kind of like just responds better to that style of playing. It's just so soft and puffy, but then it has that snappiness to it. Definitely has like in the topper end has that kind of dispersed some resonances there. It sounds good. It sounds a bit specific, but really good. And then let's do the solo bass. So this will be interesting since I liked the ensemble basses so much. Let's see what happens. It will take a moment to load. Apparently. Now you can probably speed that up with like the batch resave thing. 2.1 gigs. So a lot of differences here in tone, depending on the note. Again, this is not necessarily like a good or a bad thing. It really depends. But I mean, listen. Oh, excuse me. It's my neck muscles are spasming out. Listen to the resonance on this note. This gets like guttural, almost like the harmonics there, the resonances are like overtaking the fundamental. And then you have this. where the bowing there in certain parts is definitely very challenged. And again, this is like, it could be super cool in one place. It could be annoying in another. But one of the things I really do like in libraries more than not like it, is when there is a bit of like dispersion in how certain notes behave. And then when you start to combine them, you get really organic results. Of course, here we're dealing with a bass, so you kind of have to remember that. Yeah, the resonance there in the low end is super impressive, how it builds up. Obviously, really, if you were doing layering these with one another, not a great idea. So you would do different sections for that. But let me play this legato here. That's impressive. That goes low, and it gets so low and so guttural. It's like you don't. You don't really perceive that note even anymore. You just hear like really good. Sounds really great. You could use that for a lot of like sound design stuff as well. Really cool. Yeah, the bass is probably my favorite out of all of these. Yeah, this is really good. I'm liking the sound of this a lot. That's really cool because you get in that low range, and typically, of course, bass tends to kind of lose the definition and actual identifiable pitch there. But there, like here, it's completely fine, of course. Getting here, it kind of gets almost like percussive sound design-y. You kind of detect it, but you don't. But this is like attacky enough, sharp enough that you do get a sense of something. It sounds like you're in the middle of a brawl there, which is creating a very interesting sound. really excellent. I mean, these are just among some of the best bass sounds from the string section that I've heard. Of course, going for that like more raspy or aggressive tone, but very, very nice. Fantastic. Pizzicato. Yeah, the solo ones definitely go a bit snappier on the pizzicato. Gives a different tone. It's not like a good or bad thing, but something to know for sure. Okay, seems like we finally went through all of the strings. I think it's time to jump into percussive stuff. We are going to start with the percussion loops here, which I'm very excited about because these have been super, super good. In many libraries, Arabian Ethnic Orchestra, the loops are just really good, really groovy, a lot of fun. Again, here we got 3 mic positions, close, Decca, and Hall. We'll jump into those if we, feel like it. We probably should jump anyway, even if we don't, because it gives us a good idea of the differences, the spatial differences there. We get to choose half, normal, or double tempo. Articulation. Okay, so gives us a time signature and then say, yeah. So, articulation is basically their name of calling the preset here, essentially. So this menu does not scroll. So these are the ones you get. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different ones. Doesn't seem like a ton. Doesn't seem like a little amount either. So let's see what happens. So, all right, so let's go through these in order. First up, we have Sabertooth. This is a 4/4 time signature. We also have keys in various different colors. Okay, so purple means all layers. Or sorry, not purple. Well, depends on what the heck that is. Pink, darker blue, low, lighter blue, medium, and high layer is the green one. So it seems like we have at least 2 different patterns, things here. So let's get playing. Okay, so these are the 2 different dynamic layers here that they were talking about. So they're just, instead of being velocity mapped, they're just mapped in a different place. Actually here, I think I like the lower one a bit better. Something about like, especially with lower percussion when you hit it kind of quieter and mic it close enough and right away in the right way, then you get this nice big boomy sound. But here the top end elements actually have a nice kind of punchier tone to it. This is actually really nice now that this is laid out this way, because I can take the low end from the lower dynamic thing and pair it with these 2, if that's how I like to combine it. So that's really cool. Also notable is there's a release note. So when I let go, there's a hit there. I'm guessing this is the release sample control. Yeah, so that's it. But we have to remember there's a sustain and release decay control here as well. So it doesn't cut out immediately. It goes based on that. So cool. Okay, let me combine this with very cool. Next one, marching mammoths. That's a word to pronounce. Yeah, so I think these different dynamic layers are done really, really well. The first one, the quieter one, is like more like an anticipatory tension building thing, and the other one is like full speed ahead there. Also, what I really like about this thing is that you can, of course, load multiple instances, and then you can combine different elements from different beats or loops as you want. This is called Dripping Blood. I really like this. That I liked they went for a distinctively, different sound. Like it could have been just like a slightly louder, more upfront version of this, but this actually has like different strikes, different accents. So that's really, really nice. I really like that. Lord of Destruction. These definitely have a pretty, the names are pretty intense for sure. Very cool. I like those medals there. Very nice. Yeah, very cool. Apocalypto. Yeah, here again, it's wonderful that it's actually like a more aggressive version of it with, different sort of striking actually happening. Very nice. Medieval. I mean, listen to that imaging, that softness, that puffiness, that nice, perfect low there. Beautiful image. Like, it's so effortless. It's so nicely balanced. Beautiful. Completely full. And I love that it's not like has a beautiful sound when you start pairing it with other things also that are going to be in your mix. It's not just like in your face and then you don't have space for anything else. These are like beautifully imaged, mixed, recorded, balanced. The ideas are wonderful. It's just really, really well done. Beautiful. There's like a yeah, that's a beautiful pairing because there's like that slight resonance from that tom or frame drum, whatever that is, like a, and then it kind of pairs with that clip, clip, that wooden thing there. It sounds so good. Also, these have clearly like a live performance quality to them. There's like movements in the timing that are far more like braver than what your average sample library developer would put, but they are completely like musical shifts. So it's really, really, I really, really enjoy that. Endurance. Cool. Stick, stones, metal, bones. Absolutely wonderful. I mean, listen to everything here. I mean, you can taste the texture there. It's like, you know, oh yeah, that's the kind of stuff I love. It really, really good. Yeah, we're bound to catch some of those peaks because there are just such a difference between the energy levels of the transients. But I'll try and keep it as controlled as I can. Find a good balance for that. The hunt. I mean, just the textures, the imaging here is just so rich, so like luscious, effortless. There's plenty of space. Everything is like impactful, but soft and easy on your ears. It's really, these are really, really stellarly done. Again, there, the texture of the whoop, kind of a metally thing. I think here the low and the medium layer are kind of blending together to create the specifics of the texture. Yeah, it's like whoop, the other one is whooping into whooping into that thing. That's really fantastic. Belly dance. Yeah, I mean, these are just 10 out of 10. These being this good, it just makes me crave for more, understandably. But this is a very good set of things. Like when you get something that's 10 out of 10, it's really hard to make the argument of like quantity, because you just get so much from the thing itself. It's like, it's hard to, if you get a 10 out of 10 thing, it's like you could pay for just that thing in many cases, obviously depending on what you're doing. But so yeah, I mean, this is a good amount of stuff. Would I love more? Of course, because then I would just have more of this amazingness. But yeah, I could also see that, you know, should there be more? Yeah, maybe a bit more would be nice. Obviously, you have to also remember that this is one section of one big library. These are just the percussive loops that are in here. And also the layering power here is also very, it kind of expands the scope of what this can do. But yeah, like I said, it's very hard to criticize something that sounds so bloody good. It's really amazing. I was slightly surprised about the style of these, because some of these have like that Arabian rhythm in there. Some have like some African rhythm in there. So I was expecting a bit more of maybe stuff leaning to that Nordic, medieval type of stuff and other things. That being said, there's going to be big differences between half tempoing this and double tempoing this. So you have to remember that. There's also the layering aspect. So there's that as well. Let me actually, let's open up Sabertooth again. And I want to try the different mic positions here. So let's do close. Cool. Very full sounding. Decca. So that's going for a very spacious sound. That's actually really cool, because the close mic already sounds like kind of like a full mix sound. This Decca would be really nice if you're doing like a build-up thing, like a distant sound coming closer and closer to you. Let's do the hall. Let's do the Decca again. Yeah, so you could definitely do like a build-up of going from super distant to close-up. So yeah, most of like the sound is coming from the close, and then you just create some size and ambience with the two. Let me turn off the reverb. Yeah, that's good. You get a bit of more dryness if you want to do your own reverb. I will say the reverb here is really well done. Adds like a good presence in size to that. Kind of like ties in a lot of these elements. Cool. Very, very nice. Let's see. Let's do percussion in one go. So the next one here would be, as best I can tell, Percussive Hits Extreme. So let's see how this is. Okay, yeah, so it does follow the... Okay. All right, things got really cool because we can see the same presets here as in the percussive loops. So this is fantastic. Because it means you can take these elements and build your own kits here. Let me do a bit of exploring here. Listen to that sound. These sound so good. I'm so happy you actually have individual access to these. This is actually brilliant. It makes it a lot better. So basically, you have different zones. When you click a zone, it turns purple in the key bed down there. So you can see what you're actually altering. And in here, you can load up whatever you want. So again, purple zone here. We got Sabertooth chosen, but we can obviously choose something from any one of these other categories. So last time, my feedback was to have presets here. And obviously we can have presets. You can make a new one. You can load stuff. Let's see if we have... No. So, yeah, you can load stuff, you can save stuff. So, my feedback was that last time, at least, still don't know if those exist, but my criticism was that I couldn't see any pre-made preset kits, like pre-made kits, essentially, because this system, this layout is brilliant, no doubt about it. You can put anything you want in these zones and combine them in ways that are very nice and easy for you to play. However, building those kits can be, it can take some time, can be quite tedious. So I would just love to have some more starting points. So obviously here we do have a starting point. This is like like a pre-made thing for sure. But to have just a set of these, like have a good percussion sound designer person come in there and do some good combinations of these so that you can give the player different starting points. Because again, going from scratch, combining these is great when you really want to do that. But let's say you're jumping in here. It's great that we have this one kit for sure here. but just to have a set of different kits to open and test and try, see what you like, what you don't. It's also a very fast way to find things you like instead of having to go into a zone and load. Let's say you're looking for a low element and then you go, I mean, we only have 14 of these. So in that sense, it's not that much. Some of these have 2 low elements apparently as well. But to just go through stuff, I just think it's faster from a creativity, inspiration perspective to have pre-made kits. So yeah, as far as, I can't find anything, and at least it doesn't take me to a folder when I press load where those would be. And I don't think I can, let me check. I'll go into the folders themselves. Yeah, I don't find any folder for that. Yeah, well, okay. But that would be what I would love to have here. So you don't have to build from scratch, even though that's what you would want to do in many cases. But, just to get going, just to get playing with this and to get inspiration. Well, let me play a bit here. Again, here the layout is such that I would probably, you really need to bring things close enough for you to like finger play your way out of this. I wonder if you can also adjust the size of the zones. I don't see a control for that. You can clear a selected zone. That makes sense. But can you make it smaller than 6 notes? Zone settings. Nope. I don't think you can. So that would be nice, because having like just loading one, if you just need one sample, then you could put them really, really close to one another and make it like hyper playable from a finger playing perspective, which I like. So yeah, cool. But it's really nice to have all of that percussive loop content here in the hits. That's absolutely brilliant. Because not only do you get access to all of those wonderful sounds, but also you can supplement stuff. Because maybe there's something missing in the loop, and you can kind of not use one layer and then construct it yourself with this. So that's fantastic. But since we have actually heard this content in action now, we're not going to go deeper into this, because I would also have to, like, my intuition would be to try and cobble up something here in the zones that I like. But again, that would take a bit too much time here. I think this is a percussive element because it says extreme. So this is like basement tube. I really don't know what we're looking at here. Oh yeah, I think this is the thing that, was it Strezov himself was beating with a sledgehammer in the basement. This sounds fantastic. Sounds like that has at least 3 velocities there. Sounds like a slap. So my absolute favorites here are the swipes, and then that's such a good sound. Very, very cool. Basement tube. That sounds very strange. Basement tube scrapes. Holy crap. It's a very cool sound. It first sounds like an alarm, but then it goes into that metal banging. What is that brrr in the ending? Sounds really cool. Okay, so these are really cool. This is a very comprehensive. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, over 4 octaves of these things. That's a lot. And these sound absolutely stellar. Great for sound design, great for atmosphere building. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that's a very comprehensive offering there. What is a tambura? I have no memory of this. Tambura. The name sounds familiar. Okay, so it is kind of like a 2 distinct instruments, long-necked, fretless Indian lute. Okay, cool. Good to know. So it's not a percussive thing. Cool. I think that's it for the percussion. We'll go into sparks next, because that's up here, coming up next. And also, these are have been some of my favorites. So it's good to get into these sooner rather than later. So again, you have 2 different categories. I don't remember what these are called. I'm guessing the bird is was intended to be like a fantasy category, and then this weird other thing is intended to be like a sci-fi thing, like general ballparks, I guess. And in each you have a set of things here. So that's a pretty good amount of stuff. Again, we see layers for organic percussion and synth. Unfortunately, we don't see further ability to separate the elements. And also this has been sort of problematic earlier from the perspective that sometimes some of these layers can include elements that I would categorize as being like synthy. There could be like an element in the organic that is synthy, or an organic element in the synth, or percussion, and there have been percussive elements also in the other 2 layers. So also from that perspective, not great. I was hoping there would be more separation here, but I can just keep banging this drum and hoping that my wishes are heard someday. Let's start with Ascension, and we'll start with the bird folder, which is the fantasy folder, I guess. So as you can hear, just beautiful soundscapes. But again, there might be like one thing that you don't want to have in there. And then, are you going to be able to get it out? You might, but also might not be the case. So for example, here the organic sounds like this. So again, you could hear there are elements that I would clearly identify as synthy. I guess they're putting it kind of in the ballpark of what feels organic, and then also you would get those kind of like hits in there, which I would say as percussive, but I understand they have like an organic character. This is the synth layer. So this makes me wonder, did they put those in the wrong place? Because that sounds far more organic than the organic layer. I wonder if they got flipped. Percussive layer. So as you can hear, we have those kind of sound designy elements in there as well. And yeah, like, again, these sound so good. They sound so good. So we'll have to have like more granular control over these layers, because you can hear that, you know, this could be easily split up into those individual components and just have more control. Like you could have 9 layers instead of 3. Understand that might look threatening to some people, but these are so good. You could like build so many beautiful things based on these. And if there's an element in one of those layers, you can't use it if it doesn't fit into your track and vision. So that's kind of the big bummer. Like these are just so good. It feels like a waste in those cases where you don't have an exact combo for what you would like to have. Next one. These are just so good. Everything, like the way things hit, things are polished, the imaging, everything is just stunning. That was the limiter clipping. I love this preset name. Generic scary pad. It's just like, no bullshit. Just this is what it is. Oh, I was muted. I was just saying, like, how good is that sound? It's just like, how nicely did this note hit? Like, boom! It's perfect balance. It's just absolutely spot on. And one thing to really keep in mind here is that you really do want to play with the full scope of it, because there's bound to be sounds in each octave where they really either are or where they really come alive perfectly. So again, it's like you really want to explore this extensively to get an idea of what's in each range. Such a interesting, unique impact. Very cool. Let's move into the sci-fi folder. And again, here it's important to pay attention to the ranges, because you go down low and it's kind of like more ambient stuff. And then here, above middle C, when you play, it actually gives the like booming low end synthy focus thing that you might be looking for. So it's you really got to play with the range. Beautiful. And just how fantastic are these soundscapes? It's just like they're just so stupid good. You're like yearning for more control over the nuances, because some of the elements might be a bit too dense, going a bit too much. You might want to simplify it down. So because it's so common for these to have like really good elements that you want to use. But then, you know, again, if you can't get your hands on it, it's kind of, you can't use it. Yeah. Sounds fantastic. Cool. I think next up we're just gonna go through the rest in just order of appearance. I think that's really, probably can't narrow it down in any sensible way here. So this is called the shell. That was the special thing. I have no idea what this is practically, but let's just lay our hands on this. All right, so it sounds kind of like. Let me go into mono legato here. Cool. So to me, it sounds like an interesting combination of what's the instrument? The Renaissance time. I think it's not a Renaissance. Is it a Baroque timed instrument? The one with there's the handle you rotate. What is it called? Completely blanking on that. Hurdy-gurdy. There we go. Sounds kind of like a hurdy-gurdy had a kit with maybe, there's like a bit of like harmonium in the back of the sound. Like just like the tone of it has that. It's clearly like a very string based thing. Let's do some articulations here. So, okay. Sus espressivo. Tremolo actually sounds really, really good. It's actually really interesting. Well, yeah, so sul tasto, I usually tend to love that sound. Anyway, it's interesting because I have no idea what this thing actually really is. The picture, I think, is slightly different. Maybe it's showing what it is. But very interesting to be responding to something you have absolutely no idea what it is. This gets a bit aggressive to my ear. It's a very cool tone. Again, the pizzicatos are wonderful. If you go really slow, it has a beautiful delicate tone to it. But then also when you hit harder, it's a very, the sound stays very coherent here. Unlike me, apparently. Very good. You can use that for a lot of stuff. Harmonics. That's a unique sound because it sounds like a string instrument, but also like a reed thing, almost like a mouth harp. What the heck is that thing called? Sure, let's go with that. It sounds like a reed thing, but also string-like. So I don't really know what that thing is. They didn't really explain what it was on the side, did they? I'm sure they had the picture there, but I don't think they opened it up like what it is. So that's a very unique tone for sure. Let's move on to the next one. This is called... Oh, okay. So the shell effects. Yeah, we might as well do this at this point. Makes sense. Those are very, very useful. Do we have any more shell stuff? Okay, so this... I'm not sure how Contact 8 like thing goes, because I'm sure this is probably based on like 7, how 7 is laid out, and Contact 8 lays it out differently because it's reading these numbers here. but these go sort of from, obviously all of the violins would have been in one go and so forth. So let's just go in order here so we don't, yeah, that's the demo sound there. So Troll Harpa, let's see what happens. Okay, so you can't actually choose any legato. Oh, wait a minute, this is still loading. It's over 2 gigs. Yeah, no legato choices here, which is interesting. Let's see what options we do have. So sustain, slide, vibrato, slow, progressive vibrato, marcato, staccato, staccatissimo. Okay. This is too loud. Cool. It has like a denser, more guttural, deeper tone. I've heard the Troll Harpa name mentioned before. Is it like a bigger Tagel Harpa? I'm not sure. Again, the levels here between the layers, I would love control over that for sure. There on that previous articulation, you don't really hear, for that kind of a purpose, even the need for the legato stuff. Would it be nice? For sure, but again, depends on what kind of stuff you write. These slides sound really good. Actually really cool. All right. Cool. Let's go. Okay, so then you have Troll Harpa Rhythms. Well, let's actually load the right thing. So is this just the rhythm section on its own, or how does this work? Okay, it's not. It's different. So the names are here the same as in the percussive loop sections. So I'm guessing these kind of pair up with those, which is really, really, really interesting. Especially considering I didn't think they were very kind of Nordic vibey, unlike the Trollharpa. Yeah, these are going to be really, really good. Yeah, superb. I love this kind of stuff. The range here is obviously very limited. That's just how the instrument is. So obviously here you're talking about slight variations in the pattern, but because we have this limited range and obviously this instrument can't do like super crazy varied things here. Otherwise it just wouldn't sound like it and it wouldn't be musically very sensible. But I think I doubled the tempo, so maybe the patterns are more obvious. But these are, regardless, really, really cool. I mean, an easy way to add that kind of like folk, raw grit string edge to your parts and keep it like a simple thing, and create some bridging between rhythm elements and tonal elements. So this is actually really, really cool, very useful. It's nice that these are paired also with percussive loops if you want to use them together, but obviously you can do whatever the heck you want to do. These are really cool. These sound really, really nice. I think these are the best way to do patternization, just to have an actual player play a pattern and then you sample that and then we can use it. But also put them in, modular elements sufficiently so that we can use the right rhythm for our parts. Next up, let's do bass flute. It's that like natural distortion that's super cool and impressive. That's really cool. It sounds like there's distortion on there because this is something that like woodwinds can do if they kind of they can rattle, they can resonate in that sort of a way. And also sometimes if you hear like broken wood, it can have a natural distortion thing there. This sounds like it's going through some kind of there, like that would be some kind of a very strong distortion. So apparently this is sustain and voice. So there, again, no legato on this one. This instrument, ricochet long. So obviously very specialized instrument for specific things. I'm really surprised how much like Primal this can have like a lot of overlap with like this one, especially obviously brings to mind Pacha, and then a lot of the percussive things can be linked to the Arabian ethnic orchestra. So very, 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 very versatile and kind of supportive of a lot of other things as well. Kind of wish that there would be a nice legato for this one as well, but otherwise I would use this just, appropriately in the right musical context, and also as like supplementary things that you do here and there. Next up we have Primal Kithara Rhythms octaves. This sounds superb. I love this instrument. I have heard it before somewhere in my library stuff. Definitely going to use that. Again, this uses the same patterns. No, that's not the right word. These patterns are based on the same presets as in the Perc loops and the Troll Harpa rhythms. So all the rhythms seem to, they have that same foundation here. So again, these are going to pair with your Perc loops and Troll Harpa loops as well. But of course, you don't have to be locked down on that. But again, these give you very nice patternization that you can use whichever way you want. Yeah, really loving the sound of this instrument. So again, you can see how you can take different rhythms, different patterns here, and kind of use each for each section and kind of build your own patternization with this. Let's do a couple of more here just because I love the sound of this instrument, but you get the point. Yeah, so really, really good. I think at this point I'm going to take a short break so I can maintain my energy because this has been going for long enough. But short break here and we'll be right back. All right, next up we have the Kaval. again, like specialized woodwind stuff here. Very cool. Let's go into PRIMAL Kithara Rhythms single notes. So how does this differ? Yeah, I really like these. These go really hard. These are going to be so groovy when you pair them with the right percussive things. You can, it just takes very little to get that percussive thing and get in something tonal like this, something like picky, like a picked, strummed string instrument. It's going to sound so good. Yeah, very cool. Liking that a lot. Next up, Rusty Saw. Very full, nice sound. That's a superbly interesting tone, kind of like an airy, making a string instrument airy. It's very nice. That's, again, superbly cool sound. You get a lot of really unique textures out of this instrument. It's one of my favorites actually in here. This is a superbly fantastic instrument. You get a lot of different interesting textures, tones, expressions out of this. You can use this to pair with a lot of things because it has that string vibe, but then just the rattle, all the everything is just on a whole different level here. Pizzicato. Beautiful, rounded, dark, distant sound, but very like present and full. Very impressed by this. Be really cool to pair that with the staccato to do some accent notes there. Very cool to have these swells in here, so you don't have to simulate that. You actually get it in a sample form. Then we have crescendos. Nice, and then you get apparently 4 different effect things. Bowed. That is so cool. This is one of my favorite instruments, period. This is amazing. Bounces. Slides. Hits. Nice. Fantastic instrument. Just the plethora of textures and everything you can pull out of this. Beautiful, beautiful sounding thing. Super gritty and nice. Aeolian Fan Harp. Stunning instrument. Beautiful. It's like a... what does it remind me of? The foundation sounds like a very deep, like a baritone acoustic guitar almost. Then you have like a chime-like... yeah, like a chime, like hitting like a metal thing there. Almost like a bell-like resonant pairing there. Like and the chime metal hitting. Reminds me of, what's that guitar called? It's not like a steel string. It does have steel strings on the guitar, but it has kind of this kind of flappier sound to it. Of course, you can use a flappy pick, but it's kind of like, does have like a, Not like a slide guitar thingy. Superb instrument, beautiful. And beautiful, I mean, of course, we're not even talking about, well, I guess this is a testament of how well it's sampled and done, because you're just focusing on the beauty of the instrument. So we're not even talking about, oh, this sample library sounds great. It's just a beautiful instrument. So fantastic. Muted articulation. Yeah, then it kind of accentuates the guitar-ish side of it. Ebo. Very cool. I would pair that with a nice reverb, maybe control, because Ebo can get a bit resonant. So, but fantastic. I mean, just you could use that in so many different ways in a soundtrack. Very cool. Harmonics, effects, bowed, slides, percussion. So you can pull so much out of this instrument. Wow, this is really cool, like a very comprehensive sampling approach of an instrument. Like, what are truly all kinds of the sounds you can pull out of it, slapping it and doing all kinds of stuff. So there's a drone thing here. Not sure what they did there. Maybe sounds like there's some processing happening there. Very cool. Next up, we have the Didgeridoo. So let's wait for that to load up. Let's see how this is laid out here. That is the limiter clipping. Again, a beautiful example of an instrument that can naturally distort. Yeah, beautiful rhythms. Yeah, so different types of articulations there. So again, like this gives you a rhythmic pattern. So does some of the, I mean, the wobble also does that there. how to pair that. I mean, you could find pairings there, but I would probably use those individually. It sounds great. Super full, very natural. It's not like made too upfront or anything like that, nor is it too, overly raw either. That's super, super lovely sounding. Tamboura Rhythms. So again, these have the same names here as the percussive loops and the other rhythmic patterns, so they follow those to some degree. Again, beautiful sounding. Not much new news here. Very beautiful sounding. Again, you can stitch those patterns together any way you want. Angklungs, Ghost Tremolo. So yeah, beautiful sounding. Obviously, kind of a very simple. Okay, so yeah, this is the instrument that I didn't recognize from the image. Beautiful. I mean, the imaging here is beautiful. Just the detail in the texture is. I could just listen to this for hours. It's just so rich and like grainy in a very pleasant way, and also like holographically three-dimensional. Very, very beautiful. Good, great stuff. Arrow Monochord. Oh crap! I was muted. Beautiful sound. It has like I think the Finnish national instrument, or at least the what do you call it? Like the folk national instrument of Finland is called kantele, which is like a wooden box, strings on it. It has a very similar sound to this, but less metallic. And this is kind of like a more metallic type of a thing. But very similar in the general spirit. Obviously, it looks quite similar as well. Different. Okay, so yeah, so you got sustains with different amounts of strings. Yeah, this has beautiful, kind of mesmerizing sound. Sustain 15 strings. It's a very specialized sound. 30. Sounds like there's like like weird phasing thing happening when the strings are hitting each other. I don't know where that is coming from. So drones, they get super resonant. Sounds like the strings are clinging and kind of resonating with one another. Not a very super pleasant sound, but you could do some interesting sound designy, droney stuff with that for sure. Muted, very nice. Harmonics. Cool. Those sound surprisingly guitarish, but I guess you shouldn't be surprised. I really like the sustains here the most, up to 4 strings. Very, very nice, kind of a hauntingly beautiful tone. Cool. Moving into shouts and stomps. Okay, it seems like this is based on the Extreme engine here. Let's pull down the level here. So it's no surprise that these are superb, because Strezov sampling has obviously done Wotan and Freya and other voice and choir libraries, which are absolutely stellar. These are just superb. I mean, the beautiful balance of power and rawness, but still they sound really ready, beautiful. Again, imaging, balancing here is just fantastic. Also, these stomps are stupid good. Very nice. Superb. We do have some arrow monochord effects. We'll just do a couple of those quick. So there you go. That is extended. What you can do with that instrument. Brass stabs. It's an interesting inclusion for sure, but I can see how that goes with the theme. So it only has the staccatissimo. So these definitely have a very unique tone to them. I think this is like an additional utility thing for me. because I can't think of like reason why I would specifically go for this tone over like brass stuff from Flatus Brass, for example. But definitely has that kind of like you could really bolster up some like rhythmic patterns with that for sure. So it's a nice utility thing to have for sure. And then Vox Rhythms. This is actually quite interesting. So interestingly enough, it doesn't show presets here like it does for the other rhythm things. So it seems like we only have what we have here on the key bed. No comment, no comment. Literal ooga booga. Okay, well, beautiful textures. So yeah, those are going to be really good to add vocal rhythmic elements. I do wish there was more patterns here for sure. So it feels like kind of a supplementary thing here, but I can't really complain if the alternative is you don't get those at all. So last thing, bell guitar. That's a superbly interesting instrument for sure. I mean, if it's innately, because the resonances create immediate dissonance there. So I would, for what I would do, would have to keep the parts super sparse, not to evoke that dissonance too much. So definitely you hear less of that in the fingered. You could use that as a rhythmic accent thing. Effects, bowed. Yeah, so I can see how it can shine in that category because it can do a lot of really cool effect type of stuff. That is crapping out the limiter, so that was a lot of that was the limiter. Cool. Okay, very, very cool, interesting stuff. Let's just open up something here visually to wrap this up. So, overall, extremely impressed by this library. It does indeed offer you a very wide range of tools under that one thematic tone. It is raw, it is gritty, it is organic, it is primal for sure. It gives you, if you're going for that tone, again, you would be hard-pressed to find anything better that gives you such a vast toolkit of such high quality. Again, this is something I said after Arabian Ethnic Orchestra and also after Pacha. It's the same thing. Like if this is the type of a sound that you're after, then this is like a no-brainer insta-buy, because this just does that sound really well in one package without any loss in quality. And I would also say that the cool thing about Primal is that I see this pairing superbly nicely with a lot of other instruments. This is by no means like locked into any one category, because the rough edges of this, the grit, the drive that this can generate can be so useful in just a very wide range of genres and use cases. Let me sum this up sort of section by section. So strings, first of all, again, it's super impressive that they do unique strings for so many of these libraries. And because it's so much work but I'm really happy to report that it pays off big time. And I can't really emphasize how cool of a thing it is to have as a composer, to have like uniquely customized strings for certain types of sounds and approaches, because the string section can sound so different based on the directions that are given to them. You know, what kind of sound are you going for, articulations, expressions, what sort of things do you want to accentuate and downplay, and there are so many variables at play. But I mean, the strings here are really, really nice. They're kind of like going for that kind of like tagel harpa. I have to say it like that. I just have to. Going for that like a sound, but in the string section, while still leaning into sounding like strings. So they're really cool. My absolute favorite out of the ensemble strings, and actually the solos as well, was the bass, the ensemble basses. They are just so full, big, gritty. They keep their clarity even when you go in the low end. And there you can have a lot of really cool textures rising up, but they have so much presence and focus that you can still in the low end actually hear pitch quite recognizably, and they just have such a big bite and edge. So if you just want to get those to bolster up your string low end thing, no matter what kind of genre you're in, if you feel like you need some more bite and punch in your low strings, definitely worth looking at, just even for that, depending on obviously if you're a professional composer or you can otherwise monetarily justify investments based on, you know, individual minute details, then definitely worth looking at. The cellos and the violas do like the tagel harpa sound the best by far. They have a nice range for that. The violins are maybe, generally speaking, a bit too high for the tagel harpa sound for me, but they're obviously a very necessary and useful thing to have if your track, you know, builds towards the end and you want to have this really big high end part to it as well. So just you know, standing ovation for the strings, and especially the basses are just that good on their own. Percussion, extremely impressed. Again, this is like S tier stuff. These loops, what they call rhythms later on, but in the percussion department, these loops are brilliant. Again, these are done superbly nicely because first of all, you can break them down to low, mid, and high, which is absolutely, I would say, essential if you're looking at any kind of percussive loops. But they're done in a very sort of a modular fashion. And so the individual parts are beautifully simple. And that means you can sort of move them about and that's what I mean by modularity. They're superbly good. The sound of these are insanely good. Like imaging, S tier, mixing, S tier, tracking, S tier, texture, S tier. It's just, they just sit so effortlessly in your stereo field. They have depth. They're punchy, they're there, but there's nothing too harsh or abrupt that hits you in a nasty way. They're just so effortlessly soft and present. And so these are just fantastic. What I was very surprised by is that you basically get these, or I should probably say a lot of these elements. I'm not sure if absolutely all of them are in here, but it did seem like that because when you go, let me open that up. When you go into Perc Hits in the Extreme engine here, we have the same elements here, the same categories. So it seems like you can pick each individual elements from those loops as well. So again, you can build those loops yourself, or then you can supplement things. Let's say one loop serves one part of your track, but doesn't do that for another part. You can go in here and build that stuff by yourself. So these supplement each other beautifully, and just, having individual control over those elements is amazing. And these sound just absolutely stellar. So percussion, just S tier stuff. Talking about the sparks, again, I'm kind of like a broken record here, beating a dead horse. I love the sparks. I think they are some of the best cinematic sound design work that I've ever heard, period. I absolutely love them. But again, as has been my main gripe with sparks before, is that I wish we had more control over each element that we can hear in each of these presets and each of these layers. Because they do give us 3 layers here, which is great. We have some control. But a lot of the time it sounds like there are synthy elements in the organic and organic elements in the synthy and percussive elements in the organic and all kinds of combinations. So you're pretty likely to bump into a situation where an element has sounds that you don't quite want to have there. And again, they sound so good, but when you're composing your own music, you hear something you like and you want to use that, and then you want to add your own things from elsewhere. So the likelihood that a layer is going to be exactly what you want for your composition is going to be, it can be very unlikely. Some of them are simpler, some of them are more complex, some of them are perfect the way they are, but it's kind of like you're at the mercy of whatever it is. And oftentimes I hear something and I'm like, oh, this is so good. Can I remove that percussive element or that synthy element? And then you can't, because it's kind of baked into one layer. So again, that kind of makes me think that they maybe think of sparks as a supplementary thing, whereas I personally see this as something that could be an individual product. I would genuinely buy this in a heartbeat if it was just sparks and I had control over each individual layer that was baked into these 3 layers. I would insta-buy it. Obviously, I would love to have a bit more of these presets in that case, but these are so good that I wouldn't even cry about it, even if we had the same amount for a full product. So this is what I'm trying to drive for this to happen, to have a Sparks product lineup where we have all that control, because they are just that good. They're like S tier plus. That's how good they are. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that, because I'm just going to repeat myself otherwise. But wonderful, but I wish for more control. Then you get a lot of different instruments that are kind of yep, thanks. Let's put that away. Sorry about that. That's the preview thing in Contact 8, which I struggle to remember. So yeah, you have a lot of stuff. The shell, this is apparently like a custom made thing, which sounded like a string harmonium thing. Then you have the Trollharpa, which is like a beefier Tagelharpa thing, I would say, probably. A lot of these, again, wherever you see rhythms being said, these are basically, again, rhythmic patterns that go hand in hand with the percussion loop patterns. So you can combine them to do things, which is really cool and convenient. But also, again, the rhythmic patterns here are simple enough, but also very well thought through, that you can use them for obviously anything else you want to do. And you can obviously combine the rhythm patterns in ways to create exactly or very close or even better rhythms than what you can come up with. But the beauty of this is that it's, of course, performance based. So it's a performance that's sampled, so the rhythms sound authentic and extremely realistic, and all the details of the playing come through, versus you trying to cobble something together in Contact to make it sound half decent. So these are superbly cool. All of the rhythms, Trollharpa, the Kithara is a beautiful instrument. And what else did we have here? Tamboura, same thing. And also, yeah, the vocal things weren't paired with the other rhythmic patterns, but they're all the other ones. The rhythms are just superbly good. But yeah, then you have a lot of stuff: the shell, Trollharpa, bass, flute, Kaval. A lot of these different sort of instruments that I would definitely use in a sort of supplementary role to enhance the specific vibe that you're going for in your track. A lot of them don't have the legato engine doing its thing, so they are sort of something I would use in a supplementary role to add to the effect and the depth of my track. But yeah, I mean, they don't really, in many cases, being in the mix paired with other things, they don't really need the legato thing in most cases, I wouldn't say. This rusty saw instrument, it's, like I said, it could be like one of my favorite instruments, period. It's just such a beautiful, gritty string instrument that can do, look at the amount of different articulations we have here. Like, there's just so many in here, and they all have something unique to offer and give. Beautiful range of textures and tones out of this instrument. Definitely worth checking out. Again, this can really supplement a lot of like string needs in a lot of alternative contexts. Aeolian Fan Harp. I was again blown away by this. Where are you? There we go. Stunningly beautiful instrument. Beautifully sampled. Just could play that for hours. The didgeridoo was the best I've ever heard. In fairness, I haven't heard that many didgeridoos, but some of the ones that I have heard before sort of come off as like synthetic. Even when they're sampled, they can't capture the the visceralness of it, like the actual energy and spaciousness of it. Well, that's not what I'm trying to say. There's like a certain visceral presence to it when you're actually hearing it, and they perfectly capture that here. So yeah, hands down, fantastic. And also it has the rhythmic patterns that are in there are just so good. So you can do a lot of really cool stuff with that. These, where is it? The Basement Tube Extreme, going back to the percussive things, absolutely stellar sounds. I love when just weird objects are sampled for percussive needs. A lot of like metal made things and stuff like that. They just sound so brilliant. Again, one of those things that it just sounds so good that it could be a reason to look into this library if you like it sufficiently enough. Shouts were fantastic. Again, no surprise here because Strezov sampling has proved their pedigree in the vocal sampling category because they have amazing choir libraries. The shouts are really cool, really a lot of raw power, great texture, fantastic. The stomp, I think there was only one sample for that, but that's absolutely perfect. The brass was kind of like a supplement thing. It could work in certain contexts, but for me, I would probably go, it's a very specific type of a brass sound. I would probably go for something else personally, but if you like the tone, and I can imagine it pairs well with some of the elements in here, then you can go with that. But all in all, a very, very impressive library. Again, like I said, this has a lot of scope. It does that what's the word that I'm looking for? It does that again. I mean, it's called PRIMAL, but it does do the PRIMAL thing really well. It does this kind of a folkish, gritty, raw, powerful sound really, really well. This is a very wide collection of different instruments that cater for very different sort of a need. Again, I love how this does fulfill the sound of being like super raw, organic, and powerful and gritty. But it does serve those genres that are stated in the mission statement. But I think PRIMAL is like a beautiful library that can supplement so many different styles of music that this is really something anyone working in the orchestral or cinematic domain should have a look at. Cool. I think this has been long enough, so let's cut it here. I'm sure some of you already have this at your studio or at home, so let me know what you think. And as always, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Finished.